Right, I'm not going to spend too long with this particular recording. I'm just going to convey my thoughts on what I thought about the tribute performance of A Different Corner by Chris Martin as a mark of respect and tribute to the late and talented George Michael, of whom was one of my musical idols, heroes. Call a description what you will, but I was a very big admirer of his music particularly in the mid '90s. I heard Jesus to a Child for the first time. I'm like, wow, it was like the range on this guy's vocals was just amazing. Then you hear Fast Love, and it's like, whoa, that's something pretty special. But to the point at hand. I say this with, and this is something I want to make very clear with my comments. This is to be seen as constructive. Chris Martin would not have been my first choice, and I'm going to explain why. And I'd like to make this perfectly clear that Chris Martin is a very talented writer, musician, and vocalist. Nothing's going to take that away. I just don't feel like his vocals complemented George's work and vice versa. Simply because George was one of those few guys, or few performers, if we want to be technical, that could sing live and not be able to sing a bad note. I'm only going off what I've witnessed in the 21 years since I've been listening to him perform, recorded and performing live, like he did on Michael Parkinson back in '98, where he performed A Different Corner and Outside. Again, he was one of those few guys that very rarely seemed to put out a bad note in his performance, if at all. And Chris, again, despite the fact that his vocals are not really complementary to George's material, I think he did a decent performance. You could tell there was a lot of emotion in his vocal delivery, simply because, knowing that you're never going to see a vocal and performing talent like George, probably not for eons now. And that's just me calling spade for spade, because, again, George was such an exceptional talent. I don't think you're ever going to hear nor see anybody with the writing, singing, and the whole general package as such. I don't think you're going to see in this lifetime. Maybe another 60 to 70 years from now. I mean, maybe we'll see somebody who embodies the talent mentally and physical performing talent of George. But again, I don't think we're likely to ever see it for some time. And I thought it was a very, what I like to call perfect icing on the cake type of touch in the middle, is where you see George performing on screen via archive footage. I don't know when specifically this was done. It might have been 1 or 2 years after he had his tracheotomy, when he suffered a bout of pneumonia. And even though he'd probably suffered some kind of after effects because it's a thing with pneumonia. Some people don't ever fully recover, and to my understanding, one of his lungs had never fully recovered from the bout of pneumonia, but the man still had it. He was pitch perfect, and he didn't put one single note wrong. And to see all the iconic imagery from things like the Wham days with Wake Me Up Before You Go Go, Kissing a Fool, images from Fast Love, Although I don't know if I would have included the images from the Freak music video. I don't know who did the imagery package for that, but I would have taken that one out because when you're doing something as a tribute to someone, you want to try and make it as memorable, but at the same time, you've got to make it as tasteful as possible. And so I don't know if I would have put that in there specifically. But, or as a whole, I don't think you could have a more touching and fitting tribute to one of the greatest performers of the late 20th century that we've ever seen. And George has gone through a lot of lows as well as the highs throughout his career. The 1998 Los Angeles incident notwithstanding, George is somebody that I would talk about in the same breath as your Elton Johns, Madonna, particularly early 80s Madonna. I'm not a fan of Madonna current year. I feel like she's... I just get the sense that Madonna's not being Madonna. She's not really being herself, but that's a different subject. And I could easily speak of George Michael in the same breath as Michael Jackson. Sadly, George was never as successful as Michael Jackson when you look at everything that Michael had done. Because, Michael's success, he was in a league all on his own. If you look at the kind of success ratios of performing artists in the last 30 to 40 years, there's like the top 10 artists, and then there's the top 10 Michael Jackson performances, albums, singles, music videos, what have you. Michael Jackson is in a league on his own, and rightly so. But George, in my estimation, was equally as talented as Michael Jackson. That is just my opinion. Yours may differ. That's fine. And furthermore, I welcome that. But, yeah. It's sad to say goodbye to one of your musical idols. And I found George's music to be very comforting if I was going through bad periods in life. There was just something about his music that could either make your day good, make it feel bad, or just something that could get you to think. And not many artists do that these days. So, I don't know if he's listening up there, but George, thank you for everything, man. Biggest part of my childhood with regards to your music, and I think it's going to be at least a good, like I say, another 60 to 70 years before we even see something remotely close to what you achieved throughout your career. So, Chris, thank you for that performance. And George, wherever you are up there, thanks a million, man. You're one of the best. End of.